Hey everyone, Joseph Rothschild, aka Mono Bluetron here, back for another episode of 10-Minute Testing. This is probably the last time you're ever going to hear me on this shitty, in-keyboard microphone that I've been using. I ordered a really expensive top-of-the-line microphone off of Amazon yesterday, and it should be here tomorrow. It cost me a whole $10. I've decided that the thing that is preventing me from breaking into the YouTube mainstream is the fact that I don't have a $10 microphone. So we'll see if that solves the problem. I'm pretty sure it's the only one. Let's see what we got for you today. So this is a deck I'm not calling it anything. This is just an actually real deck. I got a little tired of playing just bad rogue strategies and figured I'd try and theorycraft for the upcoming format. For those of you who aren't excited about the ban list, I expect the following decks to be really good in the next format. There's the Union deck, some form of Metaphos Synchron Turbo that'll probably have either Yang Zings or Gofu and Magispectors in it, and Blue Eyes. So I tried to think what would be a good deck to combat those three decks, because I'm not particularly interested in any of them. And I came across Heroes. Banishing stuff is pretty good against Pendulum strategies. It's also pretty good against Blue Eyes since it's a graveyard deck, and it's okay against Union. You do get to play a guy who has Heavy Storm attached, so hopefully that'll solve the problems that the deck had. I'm playing basically a standard build. I try to go into Trap Tricks or Rafflesia a little more than most people do. I think it's okay in testing. Trap Hole Nightmare is definitely the better of the two holes. Let's go through the card choices. I'm playing 1 Neos Alias just because sometimes you're sick of getting Bubble Man, 3 Goblinberg, 3 Shadow Mist, 2 Summoner Monk, 3 Bubble Men, 3 Emergency Call, 2 Instant Fusion that grabs you Norden or this guy who is just a rank 4 warrior. It means you can go into rank 4s under Rivalry. We have 3 Hero Lives, Regeki, Reinforcement, Upstart, Mass Charge, 3 Mass Change, 2 Twin Twisters, our whole suite. Mirror Force to protect our Shadow Mist. It's much better when you get to banish everything you destroy. Call of the Haunted, Dark Bribe, and Solemn Warning. Dark Bribe is a pretty sexy auto-include that I've seen in a couple of hero builds. The idea is they're going to play a spell that's going to kill your Dark Law. You respond by flipping Dark Bribe, and then you get to use Dark Law's effect to rip a card out of their hand. I think it's pretty sexy. And the extra space is incredibly tight here. The ones I've settled on, we've got an Anarchy for OTKs, we have Acid because it's good. 3 Dark Law, we have a Norden, Karabanla Warrior. Then we have 101, Utopia, Castel, Gaga Samurai, Overblade Armor Ninja because sometimes you have to make them with Norden. Steel Swarm Roach, Abyss Dweller, and my favorite Rafflesia. Yeah, the sideboard is just speculation right now. I have a cool suite of a couple extra holes, but I don't expect it to be particularly good until we know what's actually good in the format. So let's jump into the replays and see what happens. So for the three of you who aren't familiar with the Masked Heroes archetype, the primary focus of the deck is to special summon Shadow Mist turn 1, use Shadow Mist's effect to get Mass Change to your hand, and then during your opponent's turn, flip up Mass Change to make Dark Law. The belief being that so many decks rely on graveyards and adding cards to hand that they can't afford to play under Dark Law. The rest of the deck is ways to protect Dark Law and ways to make easy rank 4s and redundancy for your main combo. So right now we're playing against some kind of synchro deck. I'm just including this clip to show you the sheer power of going into Dark Law. Here we draw into a couple of Hero Lives. You don't usually want to do that. Shadow Mist is going to add Mass Change. We set a bunch of cards and end our turn. Our opponent goes. We try and be a little greedy and not Mass Change as soon as possible. We let him get all these Scapegoats out. I mean, if you see Scapegoat getting played, you know something synchro-tacular is about to happen. We make Dark Law in response to tuning in case he spikes something off of the tuning mill, and then we get the card that he adds to his hand, or we get one of his cards after he adds a card to his hand. Then you get Shadow Mist's other effect, which adds a Bubble Man to your hand almost 100% of the time. We also have Regeki, Mirror Force, basically everything we could ever want. Regeki destroys whole board. He plays Mirror Force, but we have another A Hero Lives, so we get to do the exact same combo all over again. The difference is this time we also get to make a rank 4 and we go into Rafflesia just for a little bit of extra protection for the Dark Law we're about to make. So we make a Dark Law, and he's decided he's done playing. So while the last one was meant to show you the power of just sort of sitting on a Dark Law, this one is kind of meant to show you that sometimes that's not really good enough. Making Dark Law is a powerful ability, but it also turns out that you have basically traded off the consistency of a deck that gets to make Dark Law turn 1 almost every time in order for power. Like, look at this deck. This is an incredibly inconsistent deck that has this unbelievable turn 1 open. Look at this. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, Ultima Zolkin. He's got all this stuff in the graveyard, and we've got Plague Spreader Zombie used twice in 1 turn. Pretty exciting. We have basically nothing. We're going to try to get some stuff going. We emergency call for another Bubble Man so we can make a rank 4. I am pretty sure Utopia the Lightning is my only out to Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, but it does work the way I want. And we do get in for a little bit. We get to board with him, which is great. But then he savages my changes. I just feel like this would be a different game if we had Dark Law, but technically it wouldn't. In fact, he goes into Beatrice, which is a card that can kill Dark Law right now. He sends Shadow Mist so that he can add Destiny Hero Diamond Dude, and then he uses Diamond Dude to get a spell. He's just maliciousing into a second Beatrice, which means he would have been able to run over a Dark Law anyway. Then he gets to Soul Charge, gain all his health back, and go into a Side Frame Lord Omega. I don't really have a way past this board. I draw a Regeki, which is good at beating Side Frame Omega, but bad if he has the purple Dante in his extra. My hope is that space is so tight in his extra that he doesn't have it, but in fact he does, and I can't get over a 2800, so I concede. So this third hand is a bit of a brick. We've drawn a way to make Dark Law turn 1, but we've also drawn 2 mask changes at a mask charge. We have 1 E-Call, which means we can't go into a rank 4 unless we use the Shadow Mist, which we don't want to do. So we just set everything and pray. Thankfully, our opponent has kind of bricked too. He's playing this deck. He Twin Twisters, targeting these 2. I chain Mask Change. He Twin Twisters the other 2. Ha ha ha. He thought I had good cards set, but in fact I didn't. This clip is in here just so I can show you the steps you need to go through in order to engineer an OTK on an open board. One of the things that Heroes is really bad at is pushing for damage. It turns out that your opponent being at 8,000 actually basically buys them a free turn just because it's so hard to actually do damage in Heroes. So what I do here is I have a Dark Law. I summon Summoner Monk, use its effect, sending E-Emergency Call to get Shadow Mist. Doesn't matter who I get, it could have been anyone. I just get Shadow Mist because of muscle memory. I then set Mass Charge to Special Summon Bubble Man, flip Mass Charge in order to get Shadow Mist and a Mass Change back. Go into Gaga Samurai with everyone but Bubble Man, and then go to attacks. Bubble Man does 8, Gaga Samurai does 36, and Dark Law does 24, which is 1,000 off lethal. Then I get to use Mass Change to get Acid and Acid his face off. So that's one of the ways you can set up an OTK. A lot of this deck is figuring out a way to engineer 8,000 points of damage from an empty board. So we're back with the deck. I'm sorry this one was a little less fun than yesterday's, but I hope at the very least it was a little more instructional. You got a little bit of an idea of what it is like to play a deck that isn't gimmicky as hell and is only sort of gimmicky. I like where this deck is right now. I think I'll like it a lot more once people transition to Synchro Pendulum style decks and Blue Eyes as a meta. We only saw one of the Union deck that is played off screen, and we bricked into the sun. I still believe the matchup is probably in our favor, but only just. That deck is incredibly resilient. What I would say about Heroes is be wary about just buying into the whole deck right now. I certainly think it's possible that it's not nearly as good as I expect it to be. It turns out when there are monsters being played with over 2,400 attack, it's not very good. It turns out when there are monsters that resist getting Rafflasiaed, it's not particularly good. And it turns out when there are monsters that don't die to random rank 4s, it's not particularly powerful. So while I am cautiously optimistic about this deck in the future format, keep in mind the word that precedes optimistic is cautiously, and it may not be time to go in on this strategy just yet. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed my 2014 role play for you here today. Cards like Dark Bribe and 3 copies of Macrocosmo and Bottomless Trap Hole and the Rank 4 Toolbox usually don't get their day in the sun, and it was kind of cool to see them in action once again. If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and it really helps me out. And if you want to see a particular deck played tomorrow, let me know in the comments below. If not, I will play whatever I'm feeling like, which is going to be an exciting Rank 6 Turbo deck. So you won't want to miss that. See you tomorrow.